In this third video, I'm very quickly going to give an overview of GGIR and its separate parts, if you like. So, what I'd just like to do first of all is, okay, we've summarized the general parameters in the previous video. Part one is where GGIR processes the raw acceleration data file. And so the main arguments here are to set the epoch size for the summary data from which the signal vector magnitude will relate to, and also the non-word detection windows. So these are pretty much default. We've used 5 seconds, 1 second in the past for epoch level. Certainly in our children's work, we want this to be nice and low. So I'm going to keep that as 5. And then some of the other arguments here. So do cal is the auto calibration. Leave that as true. Angle Z is important. Leave that as true. We want to look at sleep. And then the next set of arguments refer to the different summary metrics for the signal vector magnitude that we might want to select. In this case, I've just gone with NMO. And then, so it will run through that. It would then get to part 2 if that's selected. So the various things here, I'll just point out. We've got here maximum duration, how many days after start of data collection did data collection end. So sometimes that can be quite variable depending on when monitor collection time is. So that's just one to think about. Minimum number of valid hours per day. Again, that's going to be important because if the specified day doesn't reach that minimum threshold, no accelerometer data will be included in the output. So we've got 10 hours here for 24-hour monitoring. Usually it would be 16 hours. This relates to what we put in the Q window. So this is a time window over which we want all our variables to be calculated. So here this signifies 7 AM to 11 PM, kind of a waking hours protocol. If it was 0,24, it would be 24-hour protocol. And we could actually split that up, and it could be multiple time periods to allow for segmented analysis. We might have 7 to 9 AM, 9 AM to 3 PM for school day, and so on and so forth. We just separate them by commas in that argument. We can set thresholds for MVPA. We can do that here. I'll come back to that in a second. We can set up our criteria for boats, how we want to use boats. We can set up GGIR if we want to calculate the accelerations for the least and most active periods of the day, and we can set what those periods of the day are going to be, and we do that with these arguments here and the win HR argument. I levels is where we can set up user-defined acceleration bins. So these are acceleration levels in milli-Gs, whichever way we might want to do that. Intensity gradient, we can include that there, and even we can have the intensity gradient set for the highest and for the least and most active periods that we've established up here. These Q level settings here are where we want the MX metrics, again depending on how we want to set this up. Again, user defined. There's actually an error in here because we've set the Q windows to 7 AM to 2300 hours, which is 960 minutes. So the Q levels here refer to a full 24-hour cycle. So we want to adjust this so it's in line with what we've got in the Q window. So that is an error in this example I'm showing you, and it refers to it here actually what it should be. And then when we get down to part 3 and part 4, this relates to the sleep element of GGIR. This is quite stripped down. It's assuming that there's no sleep diary or sleep log used, and the sleep detection is based on a time threshold in minutes in sustained periods of activity, and the angle threshold in degrees, and that's where that do angle Z, why that's important. So this is based on a published sleep detection algorithm based on Van Hees et al.'s paper in 2018. So part 3 does the calculation, part 4 allows a report for sleep to be generated. Do visual there, will give you a visual breakdown also of the sleep patterning. And then part 5 is where the physical activity data from part 2, the sleep data from part 3 are combined, or at least some of them are combined. So it'll combine on intensity gradient if we choose that. It'll combine on the thresholds for physical activity estimates that we want, and also boated as well. But it won't do absolutely everything that you specify in part 2. Okay. You can also generate fragmentation metrics if they're desired or relevant to your study population here as well. And then the last part says visual report, do report. So if you just select 2, it'll generate output just for the physical activity data in part 2. If we specified 4, it would do the sleep output. So 2, 4 will give you sleep and physical activity separately. And then we could do 2, 4, and 5, and that would give physical activity and sleep separately, but also the combined output in part 5. Okay, and we can select some other options down here as well if we so wish. So that's a quick whistle stop of the different parts of the shell function. Obviously the notation in green gives you a bit more explanation, and there's also in different parts reference to where to go and get more detail from the GGIR manual.